Hey, what's going on everyone? This is iReviews back with another video, and finally iOS 18.4 has been released to the public. Now this update comes with a lot of new features and changes. We actually did a video with over 60 new features and changes. I will leave that link on this video if you want to go ahead and check them out. But there are also a few new settings that are really important and I think you must change on your iOS 18.4 device. And we're starting things off with notifications. If you have an Apple Intelligence device, you will also get the new prioritize notifications feature. Now right here you can enable priority notifications. You enable them right here, but what I suggest you do here is that you choose from which apps you get priority notifications. Now you can enable the kill switch basically right there, which enables priority notifications for all of your apps, but then you will also have a list of apps right here and you can go ahead and choose here and pick for which apps you want to have priority notifications. You probably don't want to have them for all of your apps that you have installed on your device, so make sure you go ahead and configure your priority notifications for each app. Another great new feature of iOS 18.4 is the ability to now set a default translation app. So head on to your settings, go under apps here, and then go to default apps. And right here you will have translation. When you go here, if you have a third-party translation app, you will see it on the list right here. And you can go ahead and switch from the default translation app of iOS to any of the other translation apps that you might prefer over the default one, and you can change that from here. Now another thing you will be able to change, but this only in EU currently, hopefully very soon will come to other places as well, is a default Maps app. Now I know a lot of users prefer to use things like Google Maps, for example, or Waze instead of the Apple Maps, and right here you will find Maps and you will be able to switch your default Maps app again only in EU as of current. Hopefully that will be changed for other places as well. Now, Apple has done some great things with Safari on iOS 18.4, and one of them is the ability to see your recent searches. So you can go ahead and go to apps here and just go to Safari, and once you find Safari right here, you will find a new option for recent search. So you will have right here show recent search, and this is the way you can enable this feature. Now what it does, just like on Google or anywhere else where you tap on the status on the bar right there on the search bar to actually search for something, it will show you the recent searches that you have made, from where you can go ahead and make them again or just clear them from the list. Now another setting you must change is the Apple Intelligence setting. Now I'm saying this because a lot of users actually don't use it when you don't need it. You don't actually have to have it enabled because it will just consume battery on your iPhone. But with this update, I've seen a lot of reports from users seeing this switched on automatically once they have updated. So you had Apple Intelligence before, you turn it off. If you have done that, it might turn it on automatically once you have updated to the new iOS 18.4. So if you're not using Apple Intelligence, make sure you go ahead and check this setting and see if it has turned on by itself, and go ahead and switch it off from here. Moving on to the Mail app, so we have a few new settings here for the Mail app. So head on to Mail and you will find here something really important. So basically when you go here, you will find a new setting called delete or move messages action. So when you go here, you will find two options. Now this is where you can configure how your Mail app will actually perform or how it will behave once you have deleted an email. So it basically goes back to the inbox. If you have selected this option, don't select the message, or if you just want to jump to the next message after you have deleted one, then you can go ahead and tap on view next message. That way it doesn't bring you back to your folder, it just goes to the next message. On the Mail settings here, you can also change now a notification setting. So if you go under notifications there and you go to customize notifications, you can set up your badge count right here. So you will have unread messages in primary or all unread messages. So you know that the Mail app now does categorize your email. So if you just want to see the badges only for the primary folder, you can select this option right here. Otherwise, selecting this will show you badges for everything that you have on your email. We also have a new setting for the Photos app. So on the Photos app on iOS 18, you get the recently viewed and recently shared albums, which show kind of like at the top of your Photos app. So if you just want to remove those and you don't want to have a lot of things there, because of course the iOS 18 Photos app is actually very cluttered with different things, if you want to remove them, then you can just go ahead and disable this option, and that will actually remove those two folders from your Photos app, the recently viewed and the recently shared photos. Now with iOS 18.4, you probably know that Apple Intelligence has been enabled for pretty much worldwide. A lot of new languages and new regions have been added. So if you're new to Apple Intelligence or it has just been added to your region, then make sure you go under Apple Intelligence and Siri, scroll down here and you will find extensions. Tap right there, and this is where you will have ChatGPT. So you can go ahead and enable setup ChatGPT right here. If you didn't do it before, you can now go ahead and enable it from here. So that way Siri will be able to actually use ChatGPT to give you different answers and results. And right here we'll also have another option. It says confirm ChatGPT requests. This is for Siri. So once you have requested something from Siri, if it doesn't have an answer for you, it will request that answer from ChatGPT. If you want that to happen, but you want to confirm it first before you send something to ChatGPT, then make sure you have this enabled right here. Once you enable it, Siri will just ask you before sending anything to ChatGPT. And here we have some other settings that you should change on iOS 18.4. First of all, head on to Sound and Haptics, and right here we have something called maximum volume limit. So you can go ahead and just limit the maximum volume that comes out of the speakers of your iPhone. And this is really important because you want to protect the speakers, because playing music or any videos or any audio whatsoever with the maximum volume, it might just damage the speakers of your iPhone. So I suggest you keep this at around 80 or 90%. You don't want to have the speakers on full blast, because that, if it basically is done through a long time, it will most likely damage your speakers. Now here's another one I think you should enable, and that has to do with volume as well. Head on under accessibility, and then right here under audio and visuals, you can enable basically a button that will show you the volume control on your lock screen. So right here we have always show volume control. You enable this, and what it does is that it will add a volume slider to your device's lock screen. Whenever you're playing music, you don't have to actually use the buttons to turn up or down the volume. You will have a dedicated slider for that, which allows you to quickly turn up or down the volume of your device. Another thing I suggest you do is set a battery limit for your device's charge. This is really important. I know a lot of people will want to charge their device to 100%, but that's not the best way to go. You should limit it at least at 90%, because that way you will preserve the battery health of your device for a really long time. So you will have this slider right here, which you can just turn down here to 90 or maybe 85%. I think that's the best spot for you, so you get the most battery, and also you're protecting the battery health of your device. Next up are privacy settings. Of course, location services is one of the main ones. I think you should be very careful with using your location services and make sure that you have your apps configured the right way. Now, I just keep the location services turned off. I just turn it on whenever I need it. But if you have it turned on all the time, then make sure that you go to any of the apps that you have and make sure you actually do configure this the right way. For example, most of your apps don't need precise location, so make sure you turn that off. Of course, any navigation app, they will have precise location turned on because you need your precise location. Otherwise, turn it off for most of your apps. Now, something else you should check here are right here your Bluetooth, your camera, your local network, microphone as well. These are apps that do have access to any of these things. Like microphone, you can see all of these apps do have access to my microphone. I can just go ahead and switch that off if I want to, and I think this is the best way to go. Go ahead and check these apps and only leave it on for apps that you do really think that need to have access to your microphone. Otherwise, the other apps must be turned off. Next up is background app refresh, one of the features that does have like a huge impact on the battery life of your iPhone. So head on to settings under general, then go to background app refresh. You will see here all the apps that have enabled background app refresh. Of course, most of them don't actually need to have this feature turned on. So make sure to check this list and turn off any app that you think doesn't need to have background app refresh turned on. And last but not least, head on to software updates and make sure you have automatic updates enabled. Now we're currently on iOS 18.4 and it has just been released, but most likely next week we will have a beta of iOS 18.5, which will go a long way, probably towards the middle of or the end of May. That will be the time when Apple will release it to the public. In the meantime, we should have smaller updates released, which are actually very important for the security and privacy of your device. So you want to make sure that you install those updates. The way to make sure that happens is enable these features right here, so you don't have to bother with updating. Everything will be done automatically. So that is it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to smash that like button and of course subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the next one.